Here's something leaders quietly believe but rarely articulate. Sales isn't sleazy, sales is structural. If nobody sells, nobody eats. Why sales is the foundation of every organization. Welcome home, my leadership friends. We're going to make a few people uncomfortable. Let me say something that might make you feel good too. And that's okay because leadership usually does both of those things. It's a process. And if somebody doesn't do sales, nobody eats. I heard that the other day again, and it's the marketing team's not going to eat. The operation team's not going to eat. The nonprofit. There has to be closing. There has to be sales. Even at church staff, revenue drives things in the economy where we live in the United States anyway. And no sales means no revenue and no oxygen. And Cuba had no sales, and they have cars from the 50s still. Sales isn't just departmental. Sales is the circulatory system of an organization. And I find this new concept for some people is helpful, that sales is structure, not slickness, not sleaziness, not manipulation. Most people misunderstand sales because they confuse it with manipulation. But salespeople, real sales, people should feel good about doing it because it's influence and leadership. And I believe Zig Ziglar said it best. You can have everything in life you want if you will just help enough people get what they want. That's not greed, right? You're helping other people. That's value exchange. And money is a medium exchange for that value change in the United States. Sales is what happens when a need is identified and a solution is offered. Trust bridges the gap. People work with the people that they know and trust. That's not sleazy. That's people they know and trust. That's civilized. That's civilization working. Sales as a foundation of an organization. Think of an organization like a building. You have a structure, right? Let's look at the vision as the blueprint, the leadership as the framing, and culture, award-winning culture, the wiring and plumbing. But sales is the foundation still. Why is that? Because if you don't have a foundation of sales, you can have a pretty mission statement, your building will still collapse. You can have incredible people, just lovely, well-dressed, nice people, a beautiful mission, world-class product. But if nobody sells it and no revenue comes in, people do not eat, and it will die quietly, perhaps nobly, though. Capitalism, value, and why people eat better with it. Here's where this gets interesting. And I'm a member of Exchange Club and into Americanism a little bit more. So historically, when people attack capitalism, what they often miss from my standpoint is capitalism actually rewards value creation, right? It's a better mousetrap that you sell. It's something better, new and improved, which we joke about, but that is the system where selling improves things. Sometimes it's discouraged or controlled by government in ways that are hard, and still the good ideas get through in a capitalistic society. And Zig Ziglar had a whole rendition on it that's fun to listen to. If you ever hear it, it talks about how the farmers into sales and, all the different people that are in sales in the process of getting that food that you get to eat. But Cuba is the example. Decades old cars, limited product innovation, scarcity, and bread lines instead of abundance. Now compare that to the United States. There are no bread lines here. In fact, we have too many carbs in our diet. That's a bad thing. We'll work on that somehow. But innovation cycles measured in months, choice competition, improvement, people eating better, living longer, and accessing more. Again, we have access to too many calories here. We eat well. Why? Because someone is always selling a better or tastier solution. Sometimes we need to look at nutrition instead of tastier, but that makes me very unpopular where I go. So let's leave that alone for now. Sales creates incentive, improvement, and abundance. Not because people are greedy, although you could say we are motivated for things, but because problems get solved faster when solutions are rewarded with money. And the practical tool is the sales engine. So have you got a sales engine going at your organization? Because you should be rewarding those people and explaining how it's how we all eat. Here's something leaders can do this week. Ask these 5 questions. Who's responsible for sales? Clearly. If it's everyone, it's usually no one. That's an organization and structure problem. What problem do we solve in one sentence? What would make sales 10 times bigger? Who feels that pain the most? How do they emotionally experience that pain? Are they having to take the brunt of all the rejection by themselves, or can you help them? Where does money enter the system consistently? If you can't answer those questions quickly, your organization isn't broken, but it is undersold. And you can even go to the Bible and make the case for sales, which I'm about to do. Let's clear this up for the faith-minded leader. Again, I don't believe sales is manipulation. It's not manipulation. Sales is stewardship because you're creating value and adding value. And Jesus was constantly creating value and selling not products, but ideas. Come follow me. Repent, for the kingdom is near. Well, that's a tough one to swallow, so maybe that's not the greatest example here, but go make disciples is those people that are making votes by dollars to transfer a belief that your product is the one they should have. And think about the parable of talents, right? That's a lesson in multiplication and return, which sales and word of mouth can provide too. When you provide extra value, people come to you, but it starts with some sales at some point. Proverbs 11:26 says, people curse the one who hoards grain, but they pray God's blessing on the one who is willing to sell, right? Because that's how you eat. If you can get a trade going to buy some grain, selling isn't condemned. Withholding value is. Withholding value is not selling. A little humor. This gets a little heavy sometimes, right? Sales. But people say, I'm not in sales. Oh, really? You'd say that to people. Oh, I don't like sales. I'm not into. Oh, really? Well, you sold your spouse on dating. You sold your kids on bedtime. You maybe sold your boss on your resume. And some of us may have oversold ourselves at times and got into trouble. It's like, yes, I can do that. How do I do that? You're in sales. You're just undisciplined at it. And that can be where the trouble happens. And that matters most if it is ignored. Because if a leader avoids sales, the culture can starve. You got to sell the culture. Vision suffocates. You got to sell the vision. People burn out serving a mission that can't fund itself. I'm talking about the prices versus quantities, and that's minding your P's and Q's in my mind. The irony of all this, good people with good intentions fail while lesser ideas win simply because they learned how to sell. And a lot of people, Warren Buffett, the reason that you should do communications and communications is most important because that's how you have influence in how you sell. Leadership demands courage. Sales demands courage. Avoiding sales isn't humility, it's abdication. And I won't give you the definition if you need to look that up. Closing leadership thought. Closing is sales, right? Sales is not about pressure. It's about serving at scale. How do you serve the most people and create the most value? That's leadership at its best. When value meets those needs and emotion meets belief and trust meets action, it's better than Christmas dinner. A sale happens. And there's real dopamine for those of us that have done a nice sales job and come up with something that really helps everybody and keeps everyone working and makes that Christmas bonus a little bit bigger, or holiday bonus, or year-end bonus, however you want to call it. And this is a crucial leadership investment decision. And I talk about leadership investment decisions, and I talk about sales in for-profit systems, but think about grant writing is also sales in a nonprofit segment. So increase your ability to do good things by increasing your knowledge and understanding of sales. And if you're a real leader, create a structure that supports so sales happen and people eat. Empower your leadership and elevate your image with God in mind. Bless your week. And next week is Christmas. So Merry Christmas to my friends there. And I feel like it's been kind of a rough Hanukkah. So to my Hanukkah celebrating friends, bless you and bless the Reiner family.